Good news everyone, the War Within's first time walking is here, and there's actually way more you can get from it right now. It is an absolute gift for both leveling and gearing. The good news is we've done the heavy lifting for you, so here's all you need to know for gearing, for leveling, a whole bunch of tips, and how you can already make the most out of the 20th anniversary event. Your max level character can get stacks of gear. Just by finishing the Black Temple raid, which is the time walking raid, you get a box with some hero gear. Then, every individual boss can of course drop some champion gear. That's normal level raid gear. 9 bosses means 9 rolls at the loot table, which is actually more than Neru Bar. And the other great thing is that Black Temple gear can be used in the Catalyst. And of course, if all you want to do is the raid, there's actually even better news. The other time walking quest is to do 5 dungeons or 5 raid bosses. And that means that 1 clear of Black Temple will in fact complete it, which will get you another box. In this case, it'll have champion gear from Neru Bar, so you may even get lucky and get a very rare piece. And of course, if you just need to kill Illidan, then people are often hosting groups to do just that. So, you'll get 1 bit of hero gear, 1 bit of champion gear, and 9 bonus rolls for 1 run, which pretty much will take you an hour. But if you're even more lucky, you'll spark your future with today's sponsor, who are awesome because they keep me protected online every day. And as threats get more significant, that actually matters. I mean, I've got good passwords and all of that, but an alarming number of data breaches happen from other companies, and that means personal info, phone numbers, home addresses, email, that's just out there, and it gets harvested by data brokers, and they just sell it to whoever wants to buy it. At best, that means we get spam. At worst, it means security breaches, and that's why I use incogni.com/Bellular Warcraft. They keep me safe, and they'll keep you safe too, with 60% off an annual plan if you use my code. Now, here's what they do, right? They scan the data brokers, they identify who's got your information, and then they do the takedown request. And that's the thing. We actually have the legal right to do those takedowns, but doing it manually for all of the different brokers is just not feasible, and your data can just get harvested again. That's why it's great that Incogni regularly rescans to keep your data down. So here's a look at my actual dashboard. 96 sent, 12 in progress, 84 completed. I'm on 20 suppression lists, and that means that those brokers will not recollect my info. More recently, right, they removed me from Definitive Healthcare, Ikata, and Ad Element, none of which I've ever heard of and don't want to be on. So you can benefit from their services today with 60% off the annual plan at incogni.com/Bellular Warcraft. What about your freshly dinked characters? Well, for them, time walking is actually still great. They drop 554 gear, which is not massive, but it will certainly fill out a few slots from leveling, especially if you've been leveling your characters just by doing dungeons or something that otherwise doesn't get you a bunch of starter gear. So that's pretty handy, and you can also then pick up a whole ton of item level 541 pieces from the time walking vendor for only a handful of badges each. And remember, you get 500 badges per character for your first time walking dungeon clear. Using as an example this paladin, they get 5 bits of 541 gear for only 225 badges. Now obviously that's really bad gear, but if it's replacing something that's eye level 480, that's actually real good, and it can give you a little bit of a step up into doing your first elves. That's just Paladin though. Clothies have actually got even more slots available to them as well on the current vendor. Now, even better for new characters, time walking dungeons now count as heroic dungeons for the Great Vault, and that means you'll get 593 gear next week in your vault. Of course, high tier delves will get you far better gear, but if you can't do those, this is a fantastic alternative, and if you don't have alts, well, this week very much may change that. Time walking is absolutely amazing for leveling, and really it is in every way, especially level 70 to 80. The queues are pretty decent for DPS, and each time walking dungeon gives you about 50% more XP than completion of a regular, expansion dungeon, which is pretty crazy. They can also take about 6 minutes, maybe 8 minutes if you're dawdling, which is mad. Plus, not much of the XP comes from the mobs, which actually means that this is still pretty damn good for characters who don't have rested XP. As an example, 9 dungeons got us to level 75, so around 20 to 22 dungeons would do the job and get a character to 80. So at about 6 minutes to 8 minutes apiece, that clocks in at around 2.5 hours of actual gameplay. Of course, queues can add to that a little bit, and even if you're a DPS player and you're just questing in between the queues, this is still a massive time boost. But if you're below level 70, honestly, this is mind-boggling shit. So, this is better because the mob XP is still really strong. And remember, regular scaling rules apply here. So, anything under the last expansion's cap is fair game for time walking scaling. That now applies below level 70, which means they're drastically effective. As an example, we got from level 60 to 63.5 in one run of Magister's Terrace on a rested character. That's wild. So in terms of effort to reward, it is just nuts. The queue times still do mean the DPS should quest between dungeons, but if you're tanking, healing, or if you've got a friend, you'll absolutely be in business. And if that's not good enough, there's a few ways to make it even better if you want to get real sweaty and get leveled quick. There's a few funny caveats with this. So dungeon scaling is a little whack, where actually level 80s are much stronger than lower levels. And on top of that, dungeon mobs and bosses have got tiny health pools. That's the good news here. The bad news is the scaling's crazy. So some mobs hit like absolute trucks, not with their spells, but just with their regular auto attacks. So white damage is actually killing tanks. And that means the typical strategy of pulling multiple packs, dropping a bunch of stuns, and blasting them down is the way to go, assuming you're getting all of those stuns in. If you're not stunning, it's more risky, so definitely bring CC, bring strong burst AoE. Tanks and healers, you guys got to be extra careful here, because this is kind of opposite day, where abilities and spells are not actually worth worrying about compared to regular old white damage. And the weird thing is, that's also applying to Black Temple. So I'd say expect a hotfix, probably, because tanks are getting completely melted if the healers aren't babysitting and if they don't have their brains turned on. And frankly, when you're doing a time walking dungeon, you don't expect to have to turn on your brain. Now, this is not hard or anything close to hard. You just can't pull insane numbers of packs at once without using like a tank CD or your healer basically watching the health bar of the tank. But on the whole, it is smoother and faster than doing normal War Within dungeons or like raid stuff. So even though the damage profile is a bit different, Black Temple is very much just hold the W key and get some progress. The only things that'll kill you are pulling too many mobs before bosses, ripping aggro from the tank because scaling's mad, or, of course, the lovely damage return aura on the desire phase of the Reliquary of Souls, which, at the very least, is always kind of fun to watch the raid bars on. Anyway, the ideal comp for dungeons then is as many level 80s as possible, so if anyone in your guild needs to do their 5 weekly dungeons on their main, try to tag them along for a little bit of a carry. Maybe instead of 8 minutes, you'll get the dungeon done in a blistering 6. And if you compound those 2-minute dungeon savings across a week, I mean, man, your whole life will be transformed. I mean, yes, it's ridiculous, but you can do it, and it'll be a bit faster. As for the Black Temple then, just open the pre-made group finder, sign up to every group, and eventually somebody will let you tag along, enjoy your free loot, and if you don't mind being that guy, and this is something culturally we need to get going in the game, whisper people who get loot that you want, but, if you look at their character, you see that they don't need. Now, obviously, it's important not to be rude, and yeah, you should understand maybe somebody wants it for, like, off-spec or something. The point, though, is so many times people do a dungeon run, they get a bit of gear, it's not actually useful to them, but it could be a massive upgrade for somebody else. In just habitually teleporting away and quitting the dungeon, what we actually do is decrease the efficiency of the loot economy. So, I don't know, now that I put it in economic terms, maybe that makes sense. Anyway, with that said, I've got far more gains for you yet. With the absolute crack speed of these dungeons, farming Timewalking badges has never been easier, but that's not the big thing. This is the big thing. Badges are now warbound. This is awesome because most of the big juicy rewards cost like 5,000-6,000, right, if I'm thinking about the mounts. Of course, the problem would be earning those on a single character. Here's where it's crazy. Most big weekly quests in the game that have got warband transferable currency, like say the Time Rift stuff, they only give you a big reward for your first kill on your whole warband, but not here. The Timewalking quest, which is the one you pick up by looting the end boss of your first dungeon in a Timewalking week, that is still per character, and it still gives you 500 badges. I kind of expect Blizzard to fix this in the future. I doubt they'll fix it now for this event, but basically you can just funnel all of those badges to one character. So if there's a mount, a toy, or just stacks of rep tokens that you want, you are absolutely in luck. Every character from level 30 up is Timewalking eligible, so if you've got the characters and you've got the time, you could easily earn 10,000 badges. As an example, just through testing for this video and his own progress, Matt's got 28,000 of them. 28,000. That's a bit much. But it gets even crazier with a creative technique. Blizzard re-enabled the character restoration system in the game, but it has a 60-second cooldown. And that means that if your graveyard has got any level 30 plus characters, well, you can just do a bit of necromancy, revive them, bring them back to consciousness, have them do a dungeon, earn 500 badges, send the badges to your main, and then you can just delete the character again. This definitely feels a bit broken, but hey, it works, and the only downside is one that you probably won't feel, at least until Skynet takes a look at all of this and sees just how capable we are of treating robot things badly. Anyway, you can earn another 500 per character from killing Illidan at the Black Temple, but unless you just find skip groups reliably, it's better to just, exhaust your list of characters by doing one dungeon each first, then resorting to a little spot of necromancy. But even if you've got everything that you want right now, well, there's actually a lot changing. As an example, there's at least 3 more mounts coming in the next patch, the 20th anniversary celebration. Now that comes with classic Timewalking, which does mean a new classic vendor. On that, there's a stack of mounts. They cost 5,000 each. There are tons of weapon transmogs that are a few thousand apiece as well. So your best bet, if you just want to afford everything, is to just run as many characters as you can for that 500 bonus. Not just for that though, there's also the Wrath of the Lich King Timewalking event on October 9th and the Cat one October 30th. For my personal goal, well, oddly enough, I never got enough badges on a single character to get the Wrath Timewalking mount, so I'll be getting that. Blizzard also did say there would be a refresh to Timewalking vendors. Of course, we've not seen Wrath Timewalking actually appear on the PTR, but maybe Wrath and Kata Timewalking will get a little bit more. Now, as for the biggest ticket items on the anniversary event, obviously those are going to be with the new event currency, so this is not going to get you like instant free tier 2 recolor set. So, happy Timewalking, and with the amount of new characters you'll be able to level, you would do well to hit up our Delve guide. It is freshly updated post changes, and it will be on the end screen that is about to replace my face.